So happy we're above VM. I can't wait for SPX to be above GM for a month next. And I don't know if that's really a thing. It can go above GM on the weekly, but I don't think it can go above GM on the monthly. Monthly, however, is still very far out of the money. That'd be like another $100 move up. 600C pre-market for 6.3, sold it for 8.5. I made 20 bucks today. Today was that bad. I mean, we expected them to push it up regardless of the data, right? I said that a bunch. I don't know why, like, Popcorn, why do you think it's going to go down? Typically on days when I'm like, it's not going down. You're betting against me. You say the fact that the market is laughing in the face of the Fed is infuriating until the Fed says something. I mean, they just get wrecked harder for being idiots, right? Dang. Those spreads did really well. I'm glad I got greedy with them. What's the cash settlement on that? 280? Yeah, it's like 1,100 bucks. Nice. All right. Anyway, I was happy with that. That's a nice way to end the day. I get it, man. I know it's frustrating, but sometimes you've just gotta just be patient and suffer through the bullshit. That's part of it. It's never gonna do what you want right when you want it to do it. Especially when you have a macro thesis like that. It can take months, years. Look at like imagine being Burry, right? All of your theses take 10 years to play out. Last 6 weeks we've been suffering through the bullshit. Yeah, but at the same time, just embrace it, right? Like just buy calls and be like, okay, free money, thanks. That's why he's crazy, but crazy accurate though, right? I did. So, I mean, like, are you up over these last few weeks? That should be awesome. That's what you want out of being a trader. You want to make money. You don't need no. You don't need affirmation. Burry's very rarely wrong. Very, very rarely. More than 6 weeks, 1.5 years. How do you hold calls with Theta with all the risk on the table? Hedge them. They have delta. Hedge their delta off. It's not like the premium's worth the reward, right? It's pretty easy to hedge off delta or hedge off your initial cost and still have the exposure. It just means psychologically. I mean, I assume that beyond my commentary, people have their own theses about the market and what they think will happen. You have to have confidence in yourself. If you've come to a decision, right? You know, it may take time for people to realize that, but being a trader means that, you know, frequently everyone thinks you're wrong, you look wrong, and then until you're 100% correct. TMV, oh nice. Traders are not popular at parties. They're contrarian in nature. Everyone dislikes them. Everyone thinks they're wrong all the time, but they make money being right when everyone thinks they're going to be wrong. And don't get me wrong, I know it's a bitch, but at least you know what the bulls are going to do, right? Like, they're going to sell puts, and they're going to buy calls until they can't sell puts and buy calls anymore, which happened 3 times today. So let them give you their money. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Popcorn. You'll either figure out how to make that work for you or you won't. But if you don't, it's going to be a rough road. All right. So closed a little bit above the bull confirmed today and held ES 4605. A little drop from close, which should be roughly around SPX 4600. We are approaching the roll though, so be prepared for that. And this will be quad witching next week. So big deal. Big OPEX. Lots of shit going on. Right now, the situation is that the market makers Vega is positive roughly at the price we're trading at, which means that the tactic of selling puts doesn't work. So bulls at this point, and they have for a while, you know, since we were trading at 45.50, nothing's really changed here, except they still need liquidity to push prices higher. And now they can no longer provide that liquidity. So we'll see what happens. We have some decent sized auctions on Monday. Tuesday, we have CPI. And then Wednesday, we have the Fed meeting. My expectation is that JPOW is going to do what he always does. And he's gonna hold rates right where they're at with no intention to drop them because PCE and core PCE, or super core, They're exactly where they were, and they haven't moved at all. Despite the market wanting to follow CPI and PPI and get bullish on, near-term seasonal changes, that does not mean the Fed is going to abandon their goal because bulls want to make money and they don't want to refinance their debt at a higher rate. And there's a very good chance that there's going to be some comeuppance come Wednesday, when that is made clear. If it's not, then Yuda's gonna have to do his job for him because we're exporting our inflation there and destroying their currency, and he needs to stop that from happening. They've already aggressively moved up their timeline from mid to late 2024 to right now. Nikkei News has already reported that they're going to raise rates to a positive rate. So far, all of the rumors discussed by Nikkei News about the Bank of Japan have been 100% true. And any raise in the rate is going to narrow that spread between the yen and the dollar and thus tighten credit conditions. Even if it's small, even if he doesn't do a lot, that will tighten credit conditions. And credit conditions really aren't in a place right now where they can be tightened. We've already seen them loosen significantly over the last several weeks, and snapping them back to where they were and then tightening them a little more is going to be rough. So, yeah, I mean, I still think all this is bullshit. Stop focusing your macro thesis on the price of SPX. The price of SPX is, it's based on company earnings and speculation, and it has very little to do with the real economy. Eventually, over time, they align. I will not. All right. Well, to each their own. Anyway, that's where we're at on SPX. GME, obviously very liquid. Price started coming down today. We should see it drop off a little more as weeklies fall off, and then probably even more as calls bought for OPEX begin to fall off, take profit, or exercise. I don't think there's going to be a lot of call interest left on the GME chain by the end of next week. If there is, I'd be surprised if it stays in, especially if GME falls back under delta neutral at 14, at which point, the speed at which it is dropping can steepen. Upstart had a little bit of a pump again today, still above Gamma Max, just being weird and getting some covering. It's roughly got like all of its liquidity blown out. They started to short it the other day, and then today the market pumped. So there's a little bit of index exposure there. It's still very illiquid. I wouldn't with it personally, but if you want to keep trying to play it bouncing between Gamma Max and then whatever hypothetical number after Gamma Max, feel free. But yeah, I think that one's risky, and it's eventually going to come down. I think it'll definitely come down if the Fed is hawkish. FUBO's kind of staying steady. That's out on the daily. Let me go to the 4-hour. Shorting's continuing. It's definitely not hit peak illiquidity yet. They've kind of just shuffled the liquidity around a bunch without directly shorting it heavily. That might continue. That might actually see some shorting during SLD or a rejection in Russell, which has continued to run and run. Top, still no covering. They're shorting it, but the price isn't going down. I really don't know what their game plan is here. They've got a big pile of obligations they need to clear out. Well, at least relative to TUP's float size. They're now no longer affecting the price by shorting. It seems like something's got to give, but maybe not just yet. Possibly OPEX. We'll see how it goes this week. Beyond's kind of the same deal. A little bit less covering coming out of Reg Show day to day for the next, I believe it's 4 days, but I'll double check over the weekend. And then forced FTD covering will pick up again into the end of next week, as long as it stays on Reg Show. If it falls off Reg Show, I wouldn't go anywhere near it, and I probably wouldn't want to touch it if it fell back under 750 either. We'll go over some of these. Broad commodities fell again today. There's really not a lot of confidence in China's at least current stimulus policies, and I think until there's some proof that China's economy is turning around, people aren't going to have a lot of faith in that happening. So we are seeing commodities drop. Dollar up a bit today, but didn't hold 104 into the end of the day. We also saw credit spreads widen out a little bit, and the 10, 20, and 30 move up through most of the day, with the 2 and the 5-year gaining the most ground. Correlation down today, 3-month correlation down, and we've been seeing pumping for 2 days now pretty solidly across across the Mag 7, markets are up. So it's not unexpected. I wouldn't say that the moving correlation is big enough to matter, but it's there nonetheless. The Japan carry trade levered up real hard today as that bounced back from yen's lows yesterday. And we also, we see the effect of the bond yield curve dropping, and forward yields on volatility are remaining climbing pretty steadily. Not quickly, but steadily. Obviously, shorting vol slows that down a lot. Looks like skew dumped pretty hard. There's still not a lot of demand for tail risk hedge, but a little bit more demand than there was. VIX, no. We got about 77% of the S&P over its 20-day moving average. That's about it. I will see you guys Sunday for the member stream at 12:30, and everybody else have a great weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Bye.